Men Reforged, redefining masculinity.
What's up, world? This is Cam and JP coming at you with the Movement Podcast here with Shepherds of Men. We are pumped to be back in the studio. Seems like it's been a minute. I think we say that every time we get in here because it has been.
Yeah, it has. I think you said December.
Yeah.
I was just talking about it. Man, it's been since December.
Not because we've been slacking. It's because we've got a lot of exciting things coming up that we've been working on. It's really kind of been a rejuvenation of things in a sense. And we'll talk about that coming up. But Men Reforged is officially launching in April with our high carbon experience, the first high carbon experience coming April 9th. So stay tuned for that. We'll give you details on that. And we're going to be going weekly.
Yep.
And we're going to be doing a lot more Zoom podcasts and things like that allow us to be more efficient so we can get information out weekly because we have had a lot of people reaching out saying, dude, when's the next one dropping? When's the next one dropping? So we appreciate you guys listening. That's awesome. We know it's influencing you in a positive way. We believe that. We know that this is what we're called to do. As we say, we build influential men. That's what our purpose is. And if you're not following us, if you just happen to come across this, make sure you follow us on social media. Go check all that stuff out at Shepherds of Men. Subscribe on YouTube, do all those cool things so we can continue to expand the platform and get the message out and change the world one dude at a time. So we are pumped tonight. We've been sitting here chatting a little bit with our guests. And to be honest with you, I feel like I'll just tell you, Keith Yackey is with us, Mr. Keith Yackey, founder of Married Game. We'll let him talk about that a little bit. But I feel like we've been boys forever. You're just very easy to get to know. Keith and I had a chance to chat over a call a week or so ago, or maybe more than that, a couple weeks back. I don't even really remember how we connected. I think it was through social media originally. And then we started digging into your content and really just absolutely love what you're doing with Married Game. We know some of the people you run with. We respect the hell out of them too with what they're doing in this, whatever you want to call it, men's coaching space. I guess that could be worded differently. But man, we appreciate you being here via video out of California. And we just want to introduce you and hear a little bit from you. So if you got anything else to say, you can. Otherwise, I'm going to let.
No, I'm happy to hear from him.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me, guys. It's an honor. Anytime guys step up and say, hey, we're going to shepherd other men, you're basically saying, hey, I believe that I've been called to wear a mantle to be a leader, and I'm going to step up in that. And I think the best way anybody can be a leader, the best statement any leader can say is follow my exact steps. And you guys are doing that, and that's what I do. I pride myself on the fact that anybody that works with me, any guy that comes in contact with me, I literally just say, if you do exactly what I do, your life will be exactly what you want it to be. And I take so much pride in the fact that I know deep in my soul that I can look the man in the mirror and go, that's true. And when my wife hears me speak or she does podcasts, a lot of my friends, they'll ask, like, is everything what he's saying true? And she goes, everything he said is exactly, it's how he lives his life from sun up to sundown. Now, he can be annoying at times, but he's going to tell you the truth.
You're still a dude, right?
I'm still a dude, man. I'm still a dude.
Well, I'll tell you, that's one of the things that I have appreciated so much about you as I've started following you more and the content you're putting out is that everything is very genuine. Like, it's not bullshit. When you've been working with people for years and years and years, you can just tell. You can read people, and there's something that's very genuine about you. You're very transparent. I want to talk about in a little while. I'm going to ask you about a post you put out today, which was awesome. And you mentioned in there, it might sound self-serving or arrogant or whatever. And that's just because if people are, I guess, listening to that from a different perspective, maybe they haven't come to terms with loving themselves, it could come off that way. But I just don't get that from you. I get what you're basically just saying, do what I did and you'll have what I have and be who I am. So we'll maybe talk about that in a little bit. But dude, I just appreciate you being here. It's really cool, and we're excited about it for sure.
I want to say one thing as we kick this off. I literally look at what I'm doing, and people around me, my friends know, I call it the gospel of Married Game. And I literally feel like I'm bringing the good news of what I'm sharing. I feel like an evangelist. I feel like I'm like an evangelist for this. And so I won't shut up about it. I can't shut up about it. And so I appreciate the honor and the privilege to be able to be on your platform. To me, it doesn't even matter how many people listen to it, or if it's big or small, it doesn't matter, because I know there's going to be, if there's one or two dudes that hears this and says, that's my guy, and what he's saying is true, because truth is truth. And that is what has the ripple effect. And that's, dude, it's just beautiful. So thank you guys for having me on. It's an honor.
So, like, tell us about Married Game, because a lot of people, maybe our listeners, haven't heard about it yet. So tell us, what that is, what your company's about.
So my tagline is, I teach guys how to get their wives to want to have sex with them again. And what I've discovered is that a lot of dudes are just being like, man, like my wife doesn't initiate, or she doesn't enthusiastically participate, or she's more into the spreadsheets than she is the bed sheets. And so they're just like, why my wife doesn't react to me the way she did in the beginning. And the punchline is, dude, because you're not acting the way you did in the beginning when you were trying to get laid. That's the real punchline. But when it boils right down to it, Married Game is all about teaching guys how to become the most attractive version of themselves. And I think the real law of attraction is, the more attractive you become, the more attractive things come to you, whether it's deals, projects, partners, friends, the whole thing. And so Married Game is all about teaching guys how to become the most attractive version of themselves, because of the pain I went through 5.5 years ago when my wife left me, because I was so unattractive that she basically said my life would be better without you in it, and she left. That was the genesis of where this all began, and why I'm so evangelistic about sharing it with other gentlemen.
And you told me that, like, the whole concept of it kind of came about as a joke through a conversation or something, right?
Yeah. So you guys may or may not know, or maybe the men listening to this, there's a guy by the name of Garrett J. White that a lot of people know from his Wake Up Warrior and stuff. And I met him, another friend of mine, Pete Vargas, and I, we've been throwing a yacht party for internet marketers for like the last 6 years. And Pete invited Garrett. I had heard of Garrett, but I'd never joined his program, never went through it. And we met on a yacht party. I ended up moving down here. I had no idea I was going to move. He basically moved, blocks away from the dude. And we started surfing every day for the last 3 years. So, look, dude, you hang out with somebody, 250 out of 365 days a year, spending an hour and a half a day doing what you both love. You get to know somebody really, really well. And so he knew my story, but the juxtaposition of, wow, your wife left you 5.5 years ago, or at that point 2.5 years ago. He's like, I see you guys all the time. We go on double dates. I see we have Halloween parties at my house or at his house. Like, so you end up, we know each other really well. He's like, dude, I would have never guessed that your wife ever left you, because your guys' connection, the way you guys look at each other, the way you banter and joke. And obviously I know about your sex life because I surf with you every morning. And sometimes I'd be like, whoa, dude, top 10 performance last night, man. That was one for the books. And you just share with your buddy, and you like to, we call ourselves, if you can't be the leader, be the cheerleader. So we cheerlead each other on all the time. And we're paddling out one morning. This was about 2 years ago. And he's like, dude, I was going to text you last. I'm like, okay, what about what? Like, tell me more. And he's like, dude, it just, sometimes my wife, and I'm like, you know what? He's got game with his wife. He's really got game. I don't really have game with my wife. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. And I was like explaining the situation. He's like, dude, you got to teach guys how to have game. He goes, you should make a website called marriedgame.com. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious, dude. I was working with couples at the time, mainly helping guys get their exes back, like I did 5.5 years ago. And so I didn't really know if I would use that, but we ended up buying the URL for like $12.95 on GoDaddy. Nobody had taken it. And then after a while, I realized I just liked working with the guys. And at that point, we started rolling on it. And then Garrett's like, hey, bring this thing into Warrior, start teaching the Warrior guys. And so actually my entire course sits on his high level. For his high level guys that pay a certain amount, they can go through the course. And if they want coaching, they just send over to me. And he's been my biggest cheerleader ever since. So he came up with the name. He has sent me a bunch of clients. And he actually talks about it all the time. So the guy's the best. And that's how it came about.
That's all. Yeah, we've been, I have read what's the kind of the prequel to Warrior Book?
Be the Man.
Be the
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
reading the Warrior Book. So I mean, I know a lot of the guys that we've recently connected with, you know, I have spawned from something he did or
Yeah.
he worked with personally or something like that. So that's super cool.
Yeah, man. So that's how the funny name came about. And then we talk about it all the time. It's kind of fun. Like, we always talk about each other's marketing messages a lot, you know, like, hey, I'm working on this. And he's like, well, dude, are you seeing this? Or he'll be like, I'm working on this. I'm like, well, bro, but what about this? And he's like, oh my God. Yeah. So we help each other connect. You know, I don't want to sit here and say I've helped him that much because I really haven't. But in terms of understanding how to get your wife to want to be with you and want to be intimate with you, yeah, I talk about that a lot, and it's been really fun, and it's been sexy.
So give us like the summation for the dudes that are listening to the Movement podcast right now, and they're feeling what you're saying. Like, man, I need to know this dude and what he knows. Like, can you give us, like, if you truly want to be an influential man within your own marriage and have your wife chase after you, what are like some quick bullets that the guys can start focusing on?
Well, first and foremost, you got to ask yourself the question, and which I was shocked by this having worked with hundreds of men. Most men don't ask the question, am I even attractive to my wife? Like, just start there. Have an awareness. Are you attractive or not? And if you realize you're not, then I have a 5-dial system that I help guys to become the most attractive version of them. And the 5 dials are simply this. You want me to go through the dials real fast?
Absolutely, because we're getting free information here right now. So this is our trick. We get guests on the podcast.
Yes. This
Floor
makes me happy. All right. So the 5 dials are real simple. Are you a good parent? We have a parenting dial. Are you a good partner? We have a partnering dial. Are you a good producer? We have a producer dial. Are you a player within your marriage? We have a player dial. And then we have a power dial. And that equals, when those are all ramped up, that equals the provocateur. And a provocateur, the definition of a provocateur is a gentleman with an edge. And the outcome of being that gentleman with an edge is a man who provokes his wife to lust after him. So that's the synopsis. We can talk about the dials and some of the nuances of the dials, but the bottom line is I've created a metric for those 5 dials, so that way at least men can track how attractive actually are they. Like, my wife was like, this is what my wife told me. You're such a bad dad that I literally don't even want to have another kid with you because you were so horrible with the first one. That was her Yelp review on my parenting, as it were. Okay. You're such a bad dad. I don't want another one. When it came to my partnering, now this is when she left me 5.5 years ago. You're such a bad dad. I don't want to have another kid with you. I'm like, okay. Wow. That's some honest truth. Second, the partner dial, she goes, I feel so alone in our relationship that I feel like a single parent, and I feel like I have nobody to even talk to. When she left me, she said, you talk about you run your business, you talk about your business, and then you fall asleep on the couch. And that's not what we signed up for. So I'm out of here. So I was a horrible parent. I was a horrible partner. I've always been a great producer. Not when I say always, I mean, the last 10 years, I've been really great at creating value in the marketplace and getting paid for it with other businesses I've had. The 4th dial was a player. She just wasn't having fun anymore. And I love quoting what I believe is the greatest American poet, Cyndi Lauper, when she says, girls just want to have fun. My wife wasn't having fun anymore. When we first got together, we were having loads of fun. Now she's like, dude, I'm not even having fun anymore with you. And then the power dial, that is, I think, the ultimate dial. I wasn't living in my power. I wasn't keeping my word to myself or to anybody else. And I was letting everything slip. I was cutting corners. I was modifying stuff. I was compromising on, and how do I get things quickly? How do I do this? And so I only had 1 dial cranking for me. And I got to tell you, dude, a fat, boring, rich person is not very attractive. And that's why I couldn't keep my wife. And that's why she left. So Any questions on that so far before I go into the dials, or if you guys want me to go into the dials? Any questions on anything that popped up for you?
You wouldn't believe this, but JP is one of the most talkative people I've ever known in my life. He hadn't said a word since you've been together. So, you got any questions, JP?
I'm soaking it up right now. I've got some questions probably that will arise as we continue through this. But it's very intriguing. I like how you break it down into the 5 dials, and then you have. It sounds like you have different ways to gauge your level within those. So very, very intriguing.
Yeah. It's so damn simple, yet it's not easy to do. Right. Mm-hmm. So let's go to the parent dial. So for me, I had to come up with, okay, so what would be a metric that I could gauge myself every day to know that I'm a good parent? Now, I have 3 other kids, 23, 21, and 18. And my oldest son's 23 and 21. They're my buddies, man. And we're all getting ripped together. We send each other our meals and our workouts, and we flex, and we do all sorts of guy stuff. And I love those guys so much. And then my 18-year-old's a daughter, and she's brilliant and smart and awesome and amazing and beautiful. But what it really boiled down to it for me, because they're off and gone and they're doing their thing. But my 7-year-old lives here. And for me to get a point, because I get a point for every dial every single day. I get 5 points every single day. And our mantra is Provocateur every day a Provocateur. And it is my goal to be a Provocateur every single day, or else why am I even alive? I'm short selling myself. I'm short selling them if I'm not doing these things. So every day for me to get my parenting dial, I have to spend 30 minutes uninterrupted time, undivided, no phone, with me and my daughter. She's 7. She's a savage because I spend time with her, and I have mantras with her. Yackeys do hard things. Yackeys are winners. Yackeys never quit. Yackeys are great at coming up with party games. Yackeys love water. And she can tell you every single one of them off the top of her head. So I've got to spend 30 minutes of doing what she wants to do, which lately has been chess and Uno and all this really fun stuff that I've been radically in.
Digging Uno lately. He wants to play Uno like every night.
Oh, it's the best, dude. Yeah. And we used to like let her win. Now I'm playing for keeps, dude.
Yeah.
And I
don't have to let him win.
Yeah.
And she beats me a lot. And she's like, I'm an Uno master. I'm like, yeah, you are. You're a savage. So my parenting now, let me give it a little bit of nuance, because a lot of guys are good dads. To me, good is, I want to be great at everything. And so here's a real simple nuance for me as a business guy. I'm up at 4:30 or 5, charging after becoming the best version of me. And I don't usually quit until about 5. So my daughter, I take her to school at 8:15. She lives right up a dirt trail right at the school. So it takes us 4 to 5 minutes to walk her to school. And every day I walk up that path, I pick her up and I walk her back down. Like, those are my moments. If nothing's going to ruin that. So, but there's the nuance. If I tell my wife, hey, let's go on a family date, at 5:15, let's all go out to dinner and have a good time, or we'll grab some food and head down to the beach and watch the sunset or whatever. What I used to do was I would just kind of saunter in around 5:14 and 45 seconds into the garage, slip on my shoes and jump in the car. Now what I do, we're talking nuance here. Now what I do is I go, dude, why don't I just get there 10 minutes early? Why don't I get Jovi's shoes on? Why don't I put her in the car? Why don't I warm up the car and let my wife come down at 5:14 and 45 seconds and honor her and just be a good dad and help out? Because that was the criticism my wife kept giving me, was like, you're a dad too, right? Like when business is over, like, you're a dad. So like, why don't you step in and like actually be a dad? And I took that to heart. I was like, yeah, that's right. So that's what I'm going to do. So now I can make her meals. Now I'm such a good dad that my wife, who used to not even want to leave her with me for an hour because she didn't know if she'd be okay, my wife will be gone for the weekend. I'm going to go hang out with my brother and my mom. She'll leave for an hour. I'm like, dude, we're probably not going to miss you because we're going to party and we're going to have a great time. And my daughter and I have the best time ever. So it's those little nuances of being able to be like, that's my daughter. She looks to me. My energy is going to shape her in such a powerful way. I got to show up for. That's the parent dial. Anything about that you guys want to talk about?
I mean, I think it's big because I think there's a lot of guys that are like, I'm a good dad, and you're right. Like, is that really the goal? I mean, I think it's kind of easy to be a good dad, but are you being a great dad? And like that the last thing you said, your energy is going to shape them. I was just having a conversation with a good friend of mine yesterday. I grabbed lunch with, and we were talking about some challenging situations with different relationships and people, and it was like every single one of them. If you kind of go backwards through where it came from, where's the genesis of that issue, was daddy issue. Every single one of them. And you start to realize like just how important it is to not just be there or to show up or whatever, like with 15 seconds on the clock to get out the door to do something. That's not really prioritizing. But when you really make them the center of what you're doing for the time that's delegated to that, it's huge. And I can relate to the whole hustling and thinking you're providing, which, I mean, you are providing, but thinking I'm doing all this for you, and why doesn't my wife appreciate the fact that I'm, doing all these things and running all over the place so you can have this life, and, and so my kids should appreciate that too. And then you realize, like, I mean, they do to a degree, but if you're not a part of it, what does it really matter? And we've, over the last however many months to a year, have changed some things, some by design, some by chance. And I have a closer relationship with my two youngest boys now than I've ever had, and to the point where it's like my 3-year-old, it used to be every night was, I want mom, because we tuck them in every night. We read a book, we say prayers, we tuck them in, and we lay there for a minute or whatever until they start falling asleep. Well, Cash is my young one. We call him Money. And he was always, mama's laying with me, mama's laying with me, mama's laying with me. Recently, it's daddy's laying with me, daddy's laying with me. And now my wife's like, you're a traitor, But it's cool because there's the same kind of love, and connection that he felt with mom that he feels with dad.
Yeah. And they watch, man. Like, I'm a big proponent of 75 hard. My discipline is like absolutely impeccable. I believe it's my job to show up impeccably disciplined every single day, to be worthy and to stand ready for my calling and the assignment that's been given to me. So one of the things that I've been doing for like the last 50 days is I jump, our pool is about 50 degrees, and I heat up the hot tub, but I don't heat up the pool, and selfishly because it's become my ice bath. And I go in there for 5 minutes every single day. And my daughter watches me do this. And she's like, literally, like, I go, why do I do this? She goes, because Yackeys do hard things. Like, she sees what I do. If we walk on the trail that you guys see me do the videos and I see any trash, I pick it up. And she does too now, because she goes, why do you pick up the trash? I go, this is our trail. Somebody littered on our trail, and it doesn't matter who littered. Do you like walking around litter? She goes, no. I said, then we're going to pick it up. And so we were out. I went and took her to Golden Spoon the other night on a little daddy-daughter date. And there's Panda Express right next, and somebody left a bunch of Panda Express trash. And she's like, oh, dude, she went to go pick it up. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. This is their public area. They're going to pick this up. She goes, who litters? Why would they do that? She goes, that is so weak, man. She goes, they are such sheep who do that. I'm like,
I love it.
That's exactly right. So I'm like, you don't have to pick. I said, on our trail, in our house, we can do that. And, but I said, they've got somebody's going to come and get that. So you don't got to get that one this time. But I love that she jumped right into it. And she like doesn't understand why another concept that's really big with us is carry your own weight. Carry your own weight. You know what I mean? Like, so she used to leave her bowl after she'd eat her cereal, leave her bowl at the counter there, and her mom would pick it up. But when she turned 7, I said, hey, listen, I want to teach you a concept. It's called carry your own weight. Because if you don't pick up that bowl, somebody else has got it. But when you get it in life, when you carry your own weight, you become way more valuable, and you're going to have all the things that you see we have. This was because we create value in the world. So you got to carry your own weight. So she like totally gets it now. And I'm so proud of what a dad I've become. Because, dude, you guys heard the story earlier. I was coming from a deep, deep deficit.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's awesome, and I think it shows a lot in the growth mindset that you have. You didn't identify yourself as that. You made a change, and I think one of the things that, especially if you've done anything significant in your life, sometimes it's a challenge to take those small things, like spending that 15 seconds tying their shoe or putting their hat on or doing something with them, that seem maybe insignificant on the grand scheme of things, but are actually incredibly impactful. And I know I was talking to, a client of ours, one of the individuals that's highly engaged with what we're doing. And he was talking about some of the struggles that he's having with his children and stuff like that. And I said, your children are great mimickers, right? That's what they do. They mimic what you do. So what you see in your children that you do not like, you need to change in yourself because they're getting it from you.
Yeah.
Said, and that's a hard pill to swallow. But I'm telling you right now, if there's aspects that you do not like about them, it is because of you. It's not because of them. All they're doing is watching and reacting to what you're doing. And he's like, oh, shit.
It's so true, man. That's such a good word. That's such a good word.
Yeah. I do the same thing with my little ones that instead of carry your own weight, we always talk about be a blessing, not a burden. Everywhere you go, be a blessing, not a burden. And my son will actually say that to me now. And that's that like you, there's those proud moments where you go, oh yes, I'm making an impact. Like that's validation that, things are working. So, and I'm far from perfect. There's a lot of opportunities.
Of course.
I have,
Yeah, man, dude. Hey, listen, you cut us, we bleed, man. It's until we stop bleeding, we're going to continue to, make mistakes.
Yeah. 100%. That's
Beautiful.
awesome, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah. And it's there's not really leaders in this world right now. We might have elected officials. They're not leaders. I don't look at anybody that's elected and go, I would trade my life in there, or I want to be them. I don't want to be them. I think they're horrible examples of anything and everything of how to live. So I'm going to be that in my house. And I literally have the mindset of I'm going to be the best example of what a human being looks like to my daughter and to my wife. And if I want them to be able to say when they lay me down, I'm the best human being you could ever know. And we got to be, that was my dad. That was my husband. I can do that. I can do anything because it's in secret. It's like they see me when something doesn't go right. They see me get frustrated and they go, you know what? How did he handle that? So that's real leadership. This other stuff is bullshit. This is what it really matters. And that's why it was so hard when they left. They're like the people that I've always had good friends. I've always made good money. I've always been radically connected. I'm good at that. That's my superpower. But when the people closest to you say that, dude, our life would be better without you in it. That's the reality. That was the wake up call for me. I was like, well, these people know me. I mean, they know me better than anybody. This is the real me. Yeah. So, and I think truly the measure of greatness is how people feel about themselves after they've been with you. Yeah. So watching my daughter walk in confidence, she's the only girl. She goes to a Montessori school, but they still have these dumb mask mandates, but my daughter won't wear it. And I called the principal and said, we're not doing that. You will leave if you enforce it. And they said, no problem. She's the greatest girl in school. And I said, well, she won't wear it. And they go, okay, we won't make her.
Yeah.
She's the only girl in there. She's a lion, not a sheep. And so, because my buddy, Sean, you guys know Sean, owns that company. And so she knows that concept. I'm a lion, not a sheep. Yeah. So it's powerful.
Yeah. Good for you, man. That we do the same thing. We don't live in fear when it comes to that kind of stuff. We act on the world. We don't let the world act on us.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So that's great, man. I bet you do have an amazing little girl. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
All right. Next dial.
Let's do it.
All right. So the next dial is the partner dial. And the way I look at this is I want my wife to look at me as her best friend. And if you're not asking engaging questions or actually paying attention, I'm going to give you guys a concept that I go deep with in Married Game. And it's simply this. When you ask most people, what is your greatest asset? Most people say time. And it's up there, but it's not the greatest asset. Actually, energy is your greatest asset. Because if you had all the time in the world, but you were a vegetable, then you're not having a quality experience. So energy is everything. And energy and time are your two greatest assets. So when you have a partner and you're giving them your energy, which I believe attention is your energy focus. Attention is energy focus. So when my wife and I go out, I don't bring my phone. Oftentimes when I get done with the day, I'll leave my phone upstairs. She's like, hey, will you Google this? I'm like, I don't got my phone. I'm like, There's nothing. I want to, like, dude, you Google it. You know what I mean? I'll sit here and stare at you while you Google it. I'm not Googling shit. I'm hanging out looking at your pretty face because you got my attention, and my attention is the energy focused, honed in right on you. And so when your partner understands that you're giving them the two greatest assets you have, your energy and your time, which is your attention, then, dude, they feel it. And I don't look at hanging out with my wife as a sacrifice. I look at it as an investment. These are just philosophies I have around this dial. And so I'll give you a little nuance that was fun. We love having parties. Fun is by the way, joy is my favorite word. Both my daughter's middle name is Joy. I renamed my wife middle name Joy. My dog's middle name is Joy. We just and my best friend, we call him Fire and we call me Joy. So I call him Fiery Joy and he calls me Joyful Fire. Right. So my wife, we have parties at the house. We love having our friends over. I love shooting pool. We love talking shit. We love all doing those things. But about 9 o'clock, when all the alcohol's kicking in and everybody's really feeling loose, it's karaoke time at our house.
Oh my gosh,
what
my
it
wife
is.
loves you already.
Oh, dude. My wife loves to sing. She's got doesn't have a lot of tattoos, but she has one right here. She calls it her karaoke on her karaoke hand. It's a treble clef. And she had this like speaker connected to a mic, and it was just kind of this ramshackle, just chintzy thing, and it would work and it wouldn't work. And when people are drinking, they're not real excited to work with something chintzy. And I said, you know what? That thing's a bunch of bullshit. We're not doing that. We drove to Guitar Center. I'm like, we're buying a PA system. We're buying speakers. We're buying mixing board. We're getting stands and mics. And so now when they come over, when it's karaoke time, we've got enough mics. We got 3 microphones, and my best friends, they and my wife, they love singing. And I sit in the audience. We have a cool house, and so we got these stairs. It's kind of in the middle where people can perform. And Jesse just loves getting up there, and I just sit there. And then she goes to town. I just start crying, man. That's my wife doing her thing, and I'm just like, and if somebody tries to get up on her solo, I'll go, whoa, sit down. You got a cool voice, but not now. This is her solo. And if they get mad, I go, you can leave or you can sit there and hush. It's her solo. And it's an investment. And she knows that, like, I'm into her thing. Like, what is her deal? I want to know about that. And so that's a little nuance where guys look at it as like, oh, I got to go hang out with my wife. I'm like, dude, if you got to hang out with your wife, you don't want to hang out with your wife. She feels that energy. And no wonder she doesn't want to jump your bones. And you guys even talked about, like, we're doing all this for our family. We're doing this for our kids. And I talk to guys all the time, like, my wife, she doesn't really want me. I go, well, tell me what was the last romantic thing you did? Like, oh, I protect, I provide, I produce for the family. And I'm like, oh, wow, Casanova. No wonder she doesn't want to jump your bones. Dude, when did you do anything fun? Nothing. So that's the partner dial. And for me and my partner dial, it's I do something very simple. I make her green drink every morning. She, green with a little bit of pre-workout and some collagen. I shake that shit up every single morning. I have it ready for her. If she's drinking the night before, I'll get her some Advil. I try and go out of my way and think about what would make her life a blessing, other than just bring home the dough and be like, you should, be happy. Well, okay, but that doesn't tingle anybody's private parts.
Yeah. How did you find out what your wife was really, really passionate about, where you could foster that? And not saying that my wife doesn't necessarily have things that she's passionate about, but we have 4 kids. 2 of them are in diapers still, so we live a very high energy life, to put it at the least there. But sometimes there's so many distractions, and I can't find her passion for her. But do you have any tips or anything to really understand how to foster that passion?
This is going to sound so basic and simple, and I'm not being coy here. I really not, but I just asked. And when we go out as a couple, I know what she wants to do. She likes to dance. She likes to sing. And her dad was a performer. He was in an 80s rock band that traveled with Motley Crue. He's got a bunch of records. And so she's been singing her whole life. And her name's Jessie. So she wanted to be Jessie and the Pussycats. And like, she's got these things. She talks about music all the time. She loves music. She listens to music. I know music is her thing. So it's why I'd like taking her to concerts, and we'll get to that in the player dial. But I just, that's what she does. Even before she met me, they would sing karaoke. And so I knew it was important to her. I knew that she liked it. So that's why I honed in on that thing.
Very cool.
All right. Next dial is the producer dial. I don't want to go too deep into this because I just want to say, because I think the player dial and the power dial are the most important, or more powerful. But the producer dial is this: having ambition and being driven. When my wife left me, I was making millions of dollars, but she's like, dude, you don't, the fire and the drive in you is no longer there. You're popping and eating Chipotle burritos like they're Tic Tacs, dude. You're sitting on the couch. Where's the fire? Where's the guy I met who was just going to take over the world? Now just because you make a bunch of money, you sit around, you're just like, it's like, this isn't me. So I think it's more of a driven, ambitious drive. People want to be linked up to a train that's going somewhere. Nobody goes down to the train station just to hang out. And people who aren't going anywhere is a hangout. What's that?
Just to sit in the car, just hang out in the car.
Let's go somewhere. I want to see something. I want to do something. Where are we going? And so that's radically attractive to a woman. So I think that's maybe as much as I need to say there about producing, except for the thing that you said earlier. And the producing, it's not just, hey, I went and killed a buffalo. Here's some pelts and here's some meat. You should want to have sex with me. But what a really attractive thing is a man on a mission. A man with a mission that's deeper and bigger than what he is alone is super attractive to a woman. In fact, a woman doesn't want to be your mission. She wants to help you and support you and be a helpmate to your mission, but she doesn't want to be your mission. And so many guys that get desperate and needy make their wife their mission. And she's just like, oh my God, if I'm your mission, if that's all you have in life, dude, you are not going anywhere.
Yeah. Dude, hear that. It reminds me of was it Hitch at the beginning, and like he thinks he's like got the back and nerdy and whatnot, and then she's making out with this other dude, and he's crying in the rain at the window, and he's like, "What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?" And the other guy goes, "Dude, you're doing it right now."
Yes. Yeah, I always joke around when guys go, I had a talk with my wife. I'm like, dude, why aren't you into me? And she's like, because you ask me questions like that. That's why, dude. Like, don't you know anything, Dodo Bird?
Yeah.
All right, let's. Any questions on that or nuance that you want on that one, or let's head to because these next two dials are the ones that most guys are the worst at. I was a bad parent. I was actually a pretty good parent to my first three kids, and then I got really bad with this one. So I wasn't a bad dad my entire life. It was just a short section that just pissed this wife off and said, dude, I'm done with you. So I was a bad dad. I wasn't a good partner. I was always a good producer, but the player dial is where most guys really mess this up. And I can succinct this one in one thing. Garrett J. White and so many other guys have talked about date night, date your wife. And I almost feel like because people have heard it so much that they think they know it. And there's a philosophy I have, and you guys probably have the exact same thing. It's not about what you know. It's not even about what you do every once in a while, but it's about who you become. And my wife jokingly says, I'm a professional dater. And I love that because we do go on a lot of dates. And here's why. Especially for mothers, dude, they're in the diaper changing game. They're in the sippy cup refill game. They're in the sticky Cheerios out of the high chair or out of their hair game all day long. They need to be taken from that environment. Environment's a really powerful thing. It's why we have offices that we work in and go, hey, I'm getting some shit done here. You take her out of that environment and remind her, dude, that you're this goddess. You're this amazing lady. You're this lady I want to dance with. You're the lady that initially I was like almost maybe a bit nervous to talk to you. I couldn't wait to get your number. Then I couldn't wait to text you and to see if you'd go on a date with me. And then I couldn't wait for us to get some hanky panky going on. Like there was all this thing and you've forgotten about all of that. And so guys don't really date their wife on a regular, consistent basis. And usually they're like, oh, I can't find a nanny. I can't find a sitter. I'm like, all right, dude, let me ask you this. If you had a business meeting that you were going to go make $1 million, what would you do to make that meeting happen. Oh, I can figure that out. Well, cool. Well, guess what? This is more important than that. And, oh, by the way, I want to raise the standard for date nights. And here's an analogy I use for guys to help them raise the standard for date nights. Number one, we all know that chick in high school that we all wanted to get fresh with. There was that lady, there was that gal that we were like, oh man, for me, it was Kristen Bennett. Like, oh, she was a cheerleader. Oh, if I could ever date Kristen, I would be the man. And we all thought about what would we do at 15, 16 when we got our new wheels? Where would we take them? What date would we go on? I say, imagine she shows up in your DMs, you're single, she sees that you're doing cool stuff, and she goes, wow, I'm single too. Let's reconnect. Take me on a date. What would that date look like? Where would you go? Would you be showing up fresh out of the gym and just be like, oh, I'm a little smelly right now. I haven't shaved. I fart a lot. My breath stinks. Like, you wouldn't do that. You would show up as your best because you're trying to get something. You're trying to get laid. You want her to like you. You want to do those things. You want to be your most attractive self. And the bottom line is, well, why did you stop doing that? You want your lady to respond to you the way some new lady is, but you're not treating her at that level. So your level of game as a player is weak. You don't dress right. You don't take care of yourself. You're sloppy. You don't shower. You smell like shit. Your breath's bad. Like this, a player. That's why, like, because people hear a player, they think a guy that sleeps with a new girl every night. I get that, but that's not what we're doing. We're married now. But I want that lady, and I always tell people, honeymoon sex is minor leagues, boys. Committed sex with a lady that you have been showing up as a provocateur, it just gets better and better and better. You got more inside jokes. You know more about her. You know about these things. So the player is the guy that says, dude, I'm going to be fresh as you know what for this lady because, dude, I want her to look across the bar and be like, that's my man. I want my lady to look across the room with other guys and be like, I'm proud I got that guy. If you turn down this player dial, dude, you become a dad bod, you become boring, you become lame, you're no longer having fun. The root word of player is play. What do you play? Do you play with your wife anymore? Do you have fun? Do you go out to concerts? Tonight, our date, I'll tell you what our date night is tonight. We have electric bikes. If you guys have never had an electric bike, you got to get one or you got to rent one. They're amazing. Ours go like 26 to 28 miles an hour. There's a bar that we like, and it takes us about 15 minutes to ride down there. It's cold as shit tonight, so we're going to put our beanies and our gloves and our whatever, and we're going to ride our electric bikes there. We're going to go up. It's a super fancy bar. We don't care because we can be fancy, but we're not. But we are, but we're not. We're bougie, but we're not. And dude, we're just backcountry bougie, and we're gonna roll up and we're gonna eat at the bar, and we're gonna have a blast, and we're gonna have fun with the bartender. We're gonna meet some people. We're gonna laugh and joke and crack jokes, and if they have music, we're gonna get up and dance. We're gonna have a good ass time. That is what it means to be a player within your marriage. That is what gets your wife to be like, hey man, when are we going on a date again? And by the way, when I talk about being attractive, it's not just biceps and abs. It's attraction means somebody's attracted. They're leaning in. They want to hear what you have to say, as opposed to being repelled and being like, oh, eye roll, eye roll, eye roll. My wife used to roll her eyes so much. I'm like, you're going to sprain those things. She goes, well, quit making me have to eye roll because you're such an idiot. Anyway, I preached pretty hard on that one. Anything you guys want to say or comment?
No, it's true though, and it goes back to like what you were just saying as far as your energy. Like that's the attractive part. Like your number one tool in your tool belt, so to speak, is your energy and having confidence about you because you know what you've been pouring into yourself. You've been getting up at 5 a.m. You've been doing you've been working out, you've been reading, you've been absorbing good information, you've been growing yourself, and so you walk differently, you talk differently. At that point, and you shower and you groom yourself. When you become that person, which is really ironic because the person that you try to become while you're single and you're trying to find that right woman, when you find her, it's weird that and that's enjoyable. I remember as a single man, and I was single until I was 33. And I remember like I enjoyed the process of being a catch. Like I want to be, when I find the right one, I want her to want me too.
Yeah.
And it's weird that you kind of fall into this after you get married, a few years go by and you have kids or whatever. Like, why do that's all the shit that I like doing anyways.
Yeah.
I like to work out. I like to grow myself personally. I like to, look nice and do all these things. I like to feel confident, and I like to speak confidently. Like, why would you ever get away from it just because you caught, so to speak, what you were, the catch you were trying to get? It just makes so much more sense if you continue that same effort, how much better it will continue to be,
So simple, right?
Yeah, I know, right? So simple, forget it.
Dude, I literally feel like I invented the noodle for the pool. It's like that simple. Like, well, what do you do? Well, I don't know. I used to be a plumber, and I noticed that my kids like playing with this pipe wrap in the pool, so we made it a little thicker, made it a little more buoyant. Now it can flow, and I became a gazillionaire. Like, that's what I feel like I'm doing with Get Married game. I'm like, hey, remember when you're trying to get laid in the beginning? Yeah, go do that now. Like, wow, this guy is a genius. Not really. Yeah. Not really. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, that's everything with success in any area of your life too, though, man. I mean, you can start to master that stuff and the discipline, like you talked about. I mean, it's not some kind of super complex secret that somebody's holding near and dear. It's a day in and day out, just executing every single day. It makes a big difference there. And you're absolutely right. I mean, and there's aspects of my marriage that are just, like we have times where it's just amazing. We're chasing each other around the house, acting, silly and stuff like that. But, as far as I'm concerned, there's areas where I allow the other stuff to get in the way, I allow the business side of things and all the kids and stuff like that to get in the way of that when, it doesn't necessarily have to cut off when you're doing that. Like I could be changing a diaper and still be flirting with my wife, and stuff like that. And that's where the art comes in, right? And we talk about that a lot. And I'm a big proponent of joy. Happiness is something that you obtain based off of something that you do or something like that. But joy is who you are, right? Like that's the way you live your life, regardless of what's going on. So and that's a big thing. So that's awesome, man. I like the player aspect of it. Like I think every man wants that,
There's never a wrong time to get a handful of abs.
And you can, dude, it's just having fun, man. Like your daughter shits all over your arm rather than, oh my God, be like, whoa, dude, that is going to make my tattoo look bad. We better clean that up. Like it's just having fun and flowing and everything. You're just like, let's have fun with it. Like why are we so serious? Why are we so like crazy? Now, dude, you got 2 in diapers and 4 kids. Like those date nights are like, they're worth more than $1 million in reality, in the terms of the joy you're going to experience and the intimacy and the connection. Because I look at it like connection. Connection, if you think about it, when a bone breaks, excuse me, hold on. When you think about a bone breaks, it takes time for it to grow back together stronger than it ever was. Time. Well, how do you think you're going to be connected to your wife if you don't spend and invest time together? Like when and this, hey, when's the last time you went on a date night? Oh, it's like a month ago. Where'd you go? Oh, we hit Home Depot and Chick-fil-A. I'm like, dude, bro, you are not a construction crew. This is not a construction job. This is time with your bride. Like this is the like I would rather hang out with my wife than anybody else. I'm giddy, dude. I can't wait to go hang out and do our thing tonight. We're gonna have so much fun. I've been saving my calories. I'm not gonna go over 2,400 calories today, but you could best believe I got 1,200 left for a couple of espresso martinis and some appetizer, dude. We're going hard in the paint. Like I'm ready to have some fun, and so is she. So let's hit the 5th dial, because honestly, this is where I think all of it comes from. Because power and personal power is where all of this is driven. And what I noticed, because we used to just have 4 dials when I began, and it was working. And our testimonials are pretty crazy about what's happening with guys turning their love life around inside their marriage. But sometimes it was like, okay, I got my points for the day, but I'm still not getting laid. And I realized that there was a power dial here where there was a neediness and a desperation from gentlemen coming out, and they weren't holding their own power. And I love that you said I like to be in a catch, because we say that in married game. I'm like, be the catch of the county. Be the catch of the county. Be the guy that every single woman is like, dude, if anything happened to that wife, like if she died or she bumped her head and went crazy and left this dude, like there should be 100 women at the front, at your door, knocking on your door saying, I want to be the next Mrs. You. Like if that was your standard, how would you show up? So the power dial is this. We ask 4 questions. Number 1, are you doing this self-improvement for her? And do you get butthurt if she doesn't notice or comment about your improvement? I tell the guys that come into married game, I know you want her to be attracted to you, but you doing things for her is not attractive. Doing them for yourself, that's how you become this person. Because if you're just doing it for her, she's like, oh, what is this? Is this? And when women will initially push back to these changes, because they're like, is this really the new you? And is this the new you going to be around for a while? Or did you just read something on page 43 and you're trying it out this week so you can get some ass? You know what I mean? Like they can tell. So the question is, are you doing it for you? And do you get butthurt if she doesn't notice? The second one is, do you edit or audit your shine, your desires, your dreams, or your opinions, or your beliefs because of her, because you're afraid to upset her? That is some such weak stuff, man. Women can smell right through that when you're single or you're married. And the reason why a wife will push back is she's wanting to know, is this tree planted and can I rest in its shade, or is this just something that goes right over? Because they want to know I'm protected, I'm safe when I'm around this dude. And people know, you come mess with me, you're going to tangle with that 205 pounds of tiger meat wrapped in barbed wire called my husband, and you're going to be in for a world of hurt.
I love that shit right
Tiger
there.
meat wrapped.
I'm writing that down for
That's
sure.
great.
Tiger meat wrapped in
I've
barbed
never
wire.
heard that. That's awesome.
So the third question is, did you not initiate sex for fear of being rejected? And if you did get rejected, did you act like a pouty little bitch? We have an award at Married Game that nobody wants, and that's the Pouty Bitch of the Year award. Nobody wants that, dude.
That's so
I don't see why not. It sounds like a great title to carry around.
right on the man.
Yeah.
I'm the pouty bitch.
I'd love to see what the trophy looks like.
Right? It's this doing this for them and seeking validation. We live in a society that is seeking validation and leaking their power. And most men have sold themselves too soon for too cheap. And I say this is where I want men to go. And when guys get it, when they come through Married Game, they realize, like, I'm doing this for me. And if you don't change, that's on you. I show up as a provocateur because I'm a good dude. And that's why a lot of the pseudo solutions out there, like I always say the logical things, the reason why the logical things don't work is because you're not fighting a logical battle, you're fighting a psychological battle. Your wife's brain is her largest sexual organ. It's the most powerful place of attraction for her. And if she thinks you're just trying some tricks or gambits or whatever to get her in the sack, it's so unattractive. And I always just say, like, dude, if my wife bumps her head and decides that she doesn't, I'm never going to do anything that she won't want to be with me. I will never lower my standards for how I live. It will not happen. You can't give me enough money to lower my standards for the power I experience and the power I feel right now. Not going to happen. I feel way too empowered. My life is too amazing. I possess too much power. But if she decides she wants to leave, my attitude is A, I'll cry because I really love her. But B, I really believe it's her loss. Like, I don't subscribe to the theory that my wife is my better half. She might be better looking to dudes, but she's not my better half. I'm an amazing half. She's an amazing half, but I'm an amazing half too. And that's because I believe and I have this personal power that I will not compromise. And that's what that power dial is all about. And that's what is makes a man really, really attractive, where he says, I have a standard. And if you want to roll with me, you live up to that standard as well. Now, for men who radically change and experience this power, I go, hey, you're going to have to give your wife a lot of grace. She's probably going to experience a ton of PTSD because, dude, you haven't shown up for like 18 years. So you don't just get to change in 18 weeks and be like, hey, everybody better listen to me. You're going to have some grace in this because she's going to adjust to this new you. But the bottom line is when you have those dials on 10, it's why we have such amazing results in our program, is because I push these men to do that. And I listen for their words, and I listen for that neediness. And we have a statement in there. It's called bleed the need. Quit being so needy. You don't need sex. You need food, you need water, you need sleep, and air. Those are the things you need to live. That's why I don't like, oh, I've got needs. No, you don't. You have wants and desires, and those are fine. Those are great. God made your male part to tingle for a reason, because you're supposed to put it in her female part. That's why he made it. It's supposed to be pleasurable, and you're supposed to make babies and be fruitful and multiply. But you walking around like you're a little dog that needs to be pet every 4 minutes is such baloney sauce. You got to stop that. And we have methods to teach on how to do that. So I'm getting preachy because I'm really passionate about this and I get really excited about it. But that's the 5 dials. That's what a provocateur is. And when you become a provocateur, dude, every woman, I found every wife is rooting for their man. No woman who said, I can't wait to grow up and be so unattracted to my husband that I want to leave him and never touch him. Said no one ever.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a good point too, and I think that's some guys lose sight of that, almost like they're competing with their wife, you know. And I think that's one of the challenges. I mean, just my wife and I are both very, very competitive individuals. Played sports, you know, obviously growing up, and still to this day, every time we get an opportunity to compete with something, but it's, you know, finding that you're not competing with each other. And I love what you said about, you know, the whole power play is. Like that's you leading from the front. Like, I'm going to go become the greatest man I can possibly be. And not just impress you, but because I'm going to become the greatest man I can possibly be. And when you're not looking back constantly going, hey, am I doing good? Am I doing good? Am I doing good? She just starts to follow. That creates that attraction where she's like, dude, he's going, I'm going too. And if I don't go, I'm going to get left behind. And then it creates that natural draw where she does it because she wants to, not because she feels like she has to. That's great. That's money right there. I like it.
Yeah.
Keith, I know, don't let us step on your time because I know you got a hot date coming up.
Let's go for 5 more minutes if we can.
Okay.
Perfect. That cool?
Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because it kind of leads into this, what you were just talking about. In your post that I watched today, you talked about somebody saying, I want to be you. And you kind of went through the mindset of what that meant to you and like what you kind of responded with. And you mentioned, I think it was October 4th, 2021.
Yeah.
The day after my birthday is the reason I remember the date.
Hell yeah.
So like, could you take the 5 minutes and just tell us like, what did you do? I mean, what was so significant for you? Because I know there's a lot of dudes listening to this that are going, man, this guy speaks at a different level. This guy lives at a different level. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight, you know, and these 5 dials are certainly focus points, but like, what did you do to go from the dude that had his wife leave him to obviously making some changes mentally, physically, and everywhere else? And then specifically, a couple action steps you took to get you to that point of October 4th, 2021, where you said, if you knew me before that, I'm not the same dude anymore.
Yeah. Thank you. This is my most excited thing to talk about, if I'm being honest. 3 years ago, I did 75 hard. Have you guys heard of that program?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I did that basically at the same time everybody else did it, like the first time when Andy was bringing it out. And it was so altering and life-changing for me that day 35, that an idea hit my head. Man, I can't wait to move back to the beach one day so I can surf every day. And when you're in that mode, the very next thought was, well, what are you waiting for? I'm like, that's a good question. hey, Jesse, this happened this real time. I go, hey, Jesse, do you want to move back to California? Her whole family's here. My family's here. She's like, are you kidding me? I go, no. You want to do it? She goes, 100%. I said, cool. Go find us a house that we'll lease for a year. And then I grew up here, but I'm like, I don't really remember it as an adult. I left here when I was 18. So let's go find a house. Let's figure out where we like to go. And I'm going to start surfing every day. She goes, you're 100% honest? I go, yeah, let's do it. She goes, okay, done it. We move here. I meet Garrett surfing. Everything's life. Everything's amazing. It's great. I end up starting, I go public with Married Game. And every Sunday night, I meet with my creator right here in this chair. I light a candle. I turn off all the lights. I play this one song and I just say, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And I get my downloads. And I've learned more about my creator and his calling for my life in those meetings. I've not missed one meeting. It happens every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here, or wherever I'm at. I haven't missed it in 31 months. So, and you can't get me to miss that meeting. It's impossible. Donald Trump could call me up and I think he's a great dude. And I'd be like, well, maybe at 9 p.m. or I can meet up till 6 p.m. But other than that, I got somebody way more important than you that's got to talk to me, and we can chat later. So October 3rd, or right around there, I was sitting in I call it my gummy tent, and I sit there. It's because I get loaded up on gummies, and I just connect with my creator. And I call it gummy tent because Garrett calls his thing a general's tent. I go, generals are cool, but gummies are better. And so it's just a joke between us. But that's what I call it. And it's way easier than to say that I used to call it my creator to creation connection moment. Like, that is such a mouthful. Gummy tent's better. So I just go for gummy tent. And I sit there and I receive these downloads, and I have a whiteboard over here and a pen, and I just write everything down, or I type it into my phone. It's the same song every time. And the download came and said, Married Game was be as big as you want it, but it all depends upon your discipline. And it all starts with you. So as far as you're willing to discipline yourself, is as big as this thing will go. And I knew what 75 Hard did for me. And that was the only thing I knew to do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. And I picked it on October 4th. That was day first. Now I knew Halloween was coming up, and we have some raging Halloween parties at our house because my family loves Halloween. I can do without it, but they love it. Okay, cool. And then we're going to throw a rager. My 10-year anniversary, 11/11/11, 11/11/21 was coming up, and I knew what we were going to do for that. My birthday, 11/20, I always throw a big bash with 10 of my 15 my best friends. I private cater it. We play pool, we talk shit, we have a great time. Thanksgiving was coming up, and I was traveling to do comedy. I had like 3 or 4 dates with my buddy Garrett Gunderson. And I said, none of those things are more important than me dialing back my mind and getting it right back where it needs to be, because I need to be sharp, because I have a calling. I have a mantle that's been placed on me, and I am not going to mess this thing up. I've been wanting this my whole life. You know, when you meet someone, you're like, dude, that person, they were sent to earth for that reason. I've always wanted to be that. Now I know I'm that. And so I said, I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it with a constraint. I will never do anything after 5 p.m. Or if I have to wait, it will be after we put the kids to bed, or the kid, Jovi, and you to bed. I'll do it after 8 p.m. I said, I will not miss any personal private time with us as a family doing 75 Hard. You will not know this will happen, except you'll experience the benefit. I promise you. And she said, okay, done. And that's what happened. I went all in on 75 Hard. And in the busiest, most crazy time of my life, I said, I'm becoming this human being that can handle this, because I don't have a business problem. I have a personal problem that's showing up in my business. I believe that philosophically in everybody's life. And I woke up October 25th. The reason I'll always remember that date is because that was the best night of sex of my entire life. That's top shelf, the best night of sex of my entire life. October 25th, top one performance. I got up the next morning to go downstairs in the Aria and do a workout, and they wanted me to wear a mask. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. They're like, well, you can't work out here. I said, okay, no problem. But I had my shorts on. I love wearing shorts. And I had like a sweatshirt, but that was it. And it was like 34 or 35 degrees outside in Vegas. It was cold. People don't realize Vegas gets so cold. And I went outside. I'm like, well, I got to do my outdoor workout then. And I go out there and I'm running in front of the Bellagio where all the bums are hanging out with the big water show. And like, oh, crazy white boy, you know how cold, it's cold, aren't you cold? And I turned reflexively, I said, not in here. Not cold in here. I meant it. The 75 hard program literally bent the metal in my brain. It cannot be unbent. And it literally, I started to care about my statistics, my life. I don't give a shit about NFL. I loved it growing up. That's not paying my mortgage. I don't care about anything but the metrics of my life. I'm all in on me. And I became so disciplined. I never missed a workout, no compromise, no modifications, nothing. I learned what the word commitment meant. If you say you're going to do it, you do it. And you do it exactly in the time frame you said you're going to do it, or you die trying. And October 25th is when I did that run and I came back, I looked in the mirror and I told myself, I still do this to this day. I did it tonight. So I love you. I trust you. And I believe in you. Because when Keith Yackey says he's going to do something, it's as good as if it's already done. And I love the human being I've become in this process. And it's only gotten deeper and it's only grown more. I did phase 1. I still live the 75 hard lifestyle, except for a couple little modifications until I get to go back on phase 2, which is in like 3 or 4 days. And then I become impeccable with my word to myself. So I believe that's where my real power comes from, is whatever I say, I believe. I understand that I can build a company to be $100 million or more, because if some other Yahoo did it, I can do it, but I'm probably more disciplined from him. Some people go, what do you think about your competition? I go, if they're as dedicated to their craft as I am, I want to meet them and I want to high five them, because very few people are. Like it's you. And I literally call myself a California redwood. I'm immovable. When I go into that cold water, I ask my daughter, who's more afraid of who? That cold water of me or me of that cold water? She goes, that cold water is afraid of you, Dad. I go, you're damn right it is. And I walk in it and I shiver like crazy. And I go, I said, the only reason I'm shaking is because they're shaking because they're so afraid. I've flipped everything in my brain about how I look at life. That's why I'm on the level I am. I don't even know how I was successful before October 4th. And I made millions before then. I cannot wait. And I'm literally reaping the benefits of this last 140, 50 days. If you didn't know me or you haven't talked with me since October 4th, you don't know me. I really believe that, because I'm so different. I'm so radically different. And I don't care. I don't care about anybody's external validation. I'm playing for an audience of one, and it's right in my head. And when I impress that motherfucker in my head, I'm impressive. And that's all I've heard these things before. I never lived it and experienced it. Now I'm living it and experiencing it. And that's why I'm absolutely unstoppable.
Dude, I don't know if I want to get up and clap or just hug you through the screen or chest bump or what. You know?
I'm coming to a karaoke night. That's
for damn
all
sure.
I know.
That's for damn sure.
I sing a lot of Pearl Jam.
Oh, hell yeah. Man, me and you get along really well.
Jeremy spoken plans today.
Just make that.
Yeah. So
that's great. Man, thank you for sharing that. That's impactful. You said a lot in that short period of time right there, and a lot that can be taken from that. And some people will act on that.